Hi, I'm Sarah, and I am a counsellor who specialises in ADHD, and I'm a coach and a CBT therapist. And obviously, I'm female, and it's females I want to talk about with ADHD because ADHD has traditionally been thought to be a boy's condition. Even when I was diagnosed at 51, I thought that ADHD was all about naughty boys who were 9 years old, kicking chairs and telling teachers to F off. That's what I thought ADHD was. I didn't know that girls could have it. I hadn't really given it any thought, but I didn't really think that girls could have it. I thought it was just a boy thing. But actually, it's not at all. And what's happened is that boys get diagnosed more often than girls because usually ADHD kicks in usually during your teens because it's a hormone based condition. So as soon as your hormones start jangling around your body at about 9 or 10, that's often when your ADHD behaviors start to show themselves. So with boys, when they've got testosterone kicking in as well, which makes them sort of angry and sort of manly and all that, they tend to get angrier than girls, and girls are traditionally better at handling their emotions. So when you've got all these boys and girls who are 10, 11, 12, the boys start kicking things and punching things and telling people to F off and chucking chairs. That's what happened at my school. They were all chucking chairs, and they get hoiked out, taken to the naughty school and diagnosed with ADHD, and that's them done. And then the girls are left. Now the girls, they're as peed off as the boys. They're as angry, they're as frustrated, they've got the same hormones going on, but they manage their emotions better. That's just females. We just do. So we might be angry, we might be really frustrated, irritated. I spent the whole of my teens angry. I was called Mrs. Grumpy. I was told I had attitude by just about everybody on the planet. I was told that I was surly, I was obnoxious, I was definitely rude, and I actually thought I was just being myself. This was just my natural demeanour at that age. Now I know that it was my teens when I was like that. I was perfectly fine up to the age of 12. By the age of about 13, woohoo, all went very, very wrong after that. And I got very angry, very arsey, very humpy about everything. And now I look back, it was just typical ADHD behaviour, but in a girl, not spotted. So what's happened now is, although ADHD traditionally comes down the male line. And I look back in my family, mine definitely came from my dad. No question. My dad was the womanizer, the drinker, the one who couldn't keep a job for more than 6 months, the one who was constantly moving house, was overweight, was smoked. He was a template for ADHD. Even a template, sadly, in that he died at 52 of coronary heart disease, because ADHD people are more prone to coronary problems. So my dad was absolute template. Mine definitely came down the male line. But there are more and more and more girls getting diagnosed. One of the fallacies is that girls' ADHD manifests differently. Nah, it doesn't. Inattentive ADHD manifests differently, but as many boys can have inattentive ADHD as girls. I have a brother. We have two different dads, and we've both, ironically, got the ADHD from our dads. So my dad was screaming combined ADHD. My brother's screaming inattentive ADHD. So my brother's a boy with what would be called girls' ADHD. It's not. There's tens of thousands of boys with inattentive ADHD, and I've worked with a good chunk of them. I've had lots of teenagers with it and lots of adults with it. So it's not girls' ADHD. There are three sorts of ADHD: inattentive, hyperactive and impulsive, and combined. So inattentive can be across the board, so can hyperactive and impulsive, and so can combined. We can both sexes, or all sexes, can have all of those conditions. However, when it comes to girls are often missed, and a lot of girls are diagnosed with dyslexia. I've had numerous girls in my room whose boyfriend's ADHD, and the girl goes, "Oh, and I'm diagnosed with dyslexia." And there's not one of those girls who hasn't also been ADHD. And I've worked that out with every single one of them. We're probably talking about 15 of them that have thought they were just dyslexic. They're not. They've also got ADHD. So their dyslexia has been picked up, but not their ADHD. Also, when I worked for an addiction charity for a year, they had a contract with one of the prisons. I can't even remember which one it was, but every single girl who came out of this prison came into the addiction charity, and they got their script and they sorted out their plan for their methadone and all that sort of stuff. And I noticed that every single one of these girls coming out of prison was ADHD. I can work it out just by looking at somebody. But the more I listened to them, I thought, oh my God, you are as well. Oh my God, you are as well. So whilst I haven't worked in female prisons, I've always worked in male young offenders and male adults. But I've seen female offenders coming out of prison. And so far, I've not seen one who hasn't been ADHD. So these girls are getting missed way more than the boys. It's getting better. It is getting better, but it's still by no means perfect. But in the old days, they used to say it was 3-1. 3 boys to every 1 girl had ADHD. We now don't think that's accurate. There are a lot of people that think there are as many women with ADHD as there are men. It's very difficult to know actual facts and figures because a lot of people are walking around with ADHD and they don't know they've got it. So when I'm out and about and I'm spotting ADHD left, right and centre, I stayed in a B&B at the weekend and the woman was screaming. When I mentioned to her about doing an ADHD test, she said, oh, I was diagnosed as a child. So there's tons and tons of females out there who know they're ADHD. I would imagine it's very close. I would imagine it's probably just as many boys and as girls who've got it, but we'll never know till all the people that have got it are diagnosed, and we're a very long way away from that. But ADHD does exist in girls, but don't be fooled by the people who say, oh, it presents differently in girls. No, it doesn't. It presents differently in people who've got inattentive ADHD, but that is not only girls. It is a lot of boys. In fact, in my therapy, I've stopped seeing clients now, but for 10 years when I was seeing ADHD clients, I had a lot more boys with inattentive ADHD than I did girls. A lot more. So I really think it's a pretty balanced thing, that there are probably as many girls with ADHD as there are with boys, and we don't present differently unless we've got inattentive ADHD. I haven't. I've got combined ADHD. I'm as impulsive and hyperactive and on the go, and I can be aggressive when needed as any boy. So I don't present differently because I'm a girl. I've got combined ADHD. My brother with inattentive, yeah, he presents differently because he's got inattentive ADHD, but he's a boy. So this is just really to say, don't write off somebody for not having ADHD. If they've already got a diagnosis of, say, dyslexia, I'm trying to think what else girls get common. Oh, EUPD. Girls very commonly get diagnosed with that because they're very emotional. With ADHD, the biggest impact on an ADHD person is actually emotional dysregulation. They used to think it was hyperactivity, inattention, distraction, and the other one that I always forget. I always forget the fourth. But they always thought it was those 4. It's not. The biggest impact of ADHD on a person is the emotional dysregulation. And because girls on the whole manage that better than boys, that's why girls go under the radar. We are just better at managing our emotions. So it's a very fine line between how many girls, how many boys. It's impossible to say. I suspect it's a very similar amount of both, but it's always considered to have come down the male line, which is quite interesting. But then it's shooting off into females. In fact, my brother has got me as a half sister, and he's got another half sister from his dad, and that half sister has also inherited their dad's ADHD. So their dad gave it to his son and to his daughter. So yes, there's ADHD in girls, 100%. Of course there is. I've got it. But it doesn't necessarily present differently. It presents differently only if it's inattentive ADHD. And you need to look at girls who've got a diagnosis of dyslexia. Really look at those girls, because I've yet to come across one who's only got dyslexia. They've always got ADHD as well.